Hello everybody, I hope you can see me. The screen on this camera is a bit washed out, so hope everything's all okay. It's a lovely May afternoon. It's just gone 3:15, and I'm just going to sit outside and have a smoke. And update you with what's been going on lately. I really hope my camera doesn't fall over while I'm doing this. To be honest, I can't remember what I spoke about in my last vlog. I don't remember when it was. I think it was before I went on holiday. Yeah. Recently I went on another little short getaway to Gibraltar. Stayed with a friend of my parents that they've known since the 1980s. She has recently left her husband because he was cheating on her, and as far as my parents are concerned, she's back to the person that they knew back in the 80s. It's like she had a complete change of personality back to her old self, and she's now, the bubbly, vivacious woman that they grew to love back when they lived together. That's good. Yeah, she hosted me for just under a week. We went out drinking, having meals together. Also spent some time with another one of my mum and dad's friends. He has some similar interests to me, so we went out for dinner and then went back to his place and spent the evening getting drunk and watching one of the Battlestar Galactica movies, which was good because I hadn't seen that one. All in all, an enjoyable little trip. It was just a bit too short. But we're going again in October, hopefully with my grandparents as well, because they want to go. But yeah, I smoked and drank more in those few days than I have in the last 6 months. Rum and coke is my poison. But, I don't do it very often, so it's alright. Yeah, I came back from there, and something that I've started doing recently is swimming. We have a leisure centre less than a 5-minute walk from my house. I've got a gym and a swimming pool, and because I'm on disability benefits, I qualify for really, really cheap rates, so I can, just spend a pittance to go and swim there for basically as long as I like. What I've been doing is going down there in the morning at about 7:30, spending around about an hour there, just swimming, getting a bit of exercise, and hopefully that will help with my little weight problem. Something quite embarrassing happened while I was in Gibraltar. I was wearing a pair of jeans that were probably, I think they were less than 3 years old. And we'd driven up to my host's parents' house, so we spent about half an hour there, and then as we went to go, I had to I was struggling to get into the car because I had a problem with my foot. It hurt so much to walk, I had to go out and buy a cane. It was that bad. So yeah, struggling to get in there, and as I lower myself into the seat, I feel something tear. I'm like, oh, I think I just ripped something. So I, get up to look, and my host and her elderly mother start laughing their asses off, and basically I split the seat of my jeans and exposed my underwear to the pair of them, which was embarrassing, but they got a good laugh out of it. So yeah, her mother gets a lot of clothes that she takes with her when she goes back to England once every 3 months, and donates them to charity shops. She happened to have a pair of jeans in my size that she gave to me, so I was very grateful for her to her for that. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to keep up the swimming, because I would like to lose some weight and not have my shirts barely fit. Because this is kind of a bit. I'm not going to move the camera because it'll be too much of a faff to put it back. But this shirt is like stretched to hell. You can see my tummy in between the buttonholes. You get the idea. Next, in 2 weeks, we're going to London to see the revival of Whose Line Is It Anyway, which started as a sort of a sketch show, comedy in 1983, 1984. It was launched with Channel 4, and it proved very popular, and it was taken over to the US. And they've gotten they've gotten the guy who originally hosted it in the 80s, Clive Anderson, and several of the original cast to come and do it. So it's a very fun and enjoyable show. So yeah, we're going to do that, and then on the 23rd of June, the same day as the European referendum, we're going to see Bill Bailey, who's another famous British comedian that we quite like. So yes, in the morning we're going to go over to the local football club to cast our vote in the referendum, and then in the afternoon, in the evening, we'll be going to see Bill Bailey, which I'm very much looking forward to. Regards to my stance on the referendum, I lean towards leave. I mean, I've sort of flip-flopped between leave and remain over the last 15 years or so. I mean, initially I wanted us to leave. Then I sort of after I learned a bit more about the politics side of it, and it seemed like something that was a good idea, but now it just seems to be lurching from disaster to disaster. Because we've got the migrant crisis, which I spoke about before. Was it last year? Yeah, it was, because I made a video of the night of the Paris attacks where I talked about the migration. Then the Eurozone crisis, where several countries have either gone bankrupt or on the verge of bankruptcy. Plans to integrate politically, and also integrate the militaries as well and all of that. And to be honest, I really just don't want to be part of that. Britain is a fiercely independent nation. I mean, we may technically be part of the European continent, but we've always been separate. And we don't consider ourselves part of that crowd. In the words of Winston Churchill, if Britain faces a choice between Europe and the sea, she must choose the sea. Before we joined the European Union, we had a seat on the World Trade Organization, which we helped found. We had free trade agreements with countless nations around the world, but the European Union, we had to step down from the World Trade Organization because we were represented by the EU. We lost all of our free trade agreements because the free trade agreements are with the EU and not with the individual nations. And yeah, the Remain campaign seems mostly to be this bad thing will happen if you leave, this bad thing will happen if you leave, this bad thing will happen if you leave, but this good thing will happen if you stay. Whereas the Leave campaign is mostly, if we leave, we'll be able to do this, we'll be able to do that, we'll be able to do these things, it will be better because of this, but better because of that, and it just seems a whole lot more positive than the Remain campaign. So me being a sort of a I don't really consider myself Gibraltarian because I wasn't born there, but it's like a home away from home, like I've said before. And Gibraltar, because it's technically part of the United Kingdom, enjoys a privileged position in the EU, where it has almost all of the good, where it has pretty much all of the good and almost none of the bad, and they have done very well for themselves, being members of the European Union. You know, their economy is booming. You know, you've got the online gaming industry, financial sector, tourism, a little bit of the military left. It's very quickly becoming the Hong Kong of the Mediterranean, and I worry that if we vote to leave, then that will jeopardize that growth. But the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And then of course you've got Spain, who, they hate that we own Gibraltar, even though they ceded it to us by treaty in perpetuity, which means forever. They're always banging on about how, their territorial integrity and stuff, even though they've got enclaves in various countries. They've got 2 in Morocco, they've got 1 in Portugal, they've got some islands off the west coast of Africa. They have no intention of giving them of giving them their independence or returning them to the nation that they took them from. But they demand that we give Gibraltar back. Fuck off. It's ours. They wouldn't have done anything with it. Just like the Chinese never would have done anything with Hong Kong. We turned that into the second greatest financial centre in the entire world. It would have just been a tiny little fishing village if they'd have kept it. But yeah, Madrid is saying all sorts of bullshit like, if Britain votes to leave the European Union, the next morning we will invade. Which, of course, if they ever did that, they will be dragged in front of the UN Security Council and basically beaten with a stick. So they do all of they can under the EU law to make life for Gibraltar as difficult as possible. It's gotten much better because Gibraltar is a member of the EU. But if we do leave, then they will have a lot more, ways to make life difficult for them. So yeah, I worry about that as well. Excuse me, I'm just talking to my Italian friend. So at the moment I'm intending to vote leave. My mind may be changed at some point between now and then, but I don't expect it to be. Because, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and, the older I get, the more I don't like it. And of course, the European legislation on the regulation of tobacco is laughable. They've mandated plain packaging now that's going to be, completely covered with photos of cancerous lungs, even though cigars that I smoke, the chance of getting lung cancer from smoking a cigar is almost nil. They've already seriously, cut by more than half the maximum amount of tar and nicotine that you can have in tobacco, in cigarettes. So, lights these days are like super lights, and full strength are like lights. So yeah, if we leave, then maybe we won't be subject to that anymore, and then the tobacco industry will be able to go back to its, more traditional ways. I hope that things will turn out all right. I mean, of course, that there's going to be, if we do vote to leave, it might tip us back into recession, but our economy is a very strong economy. It's always been a strong economy. We've survived all the we survived bankruptcy at the end of the Second World War. Sure, we lost the empire, but we were able to rebuild the nation and institute the National Health Service, nationalised railways, nationalised utilities, that have since been sold off. But, if we were able to do all that and spend all that money and all that shit, I think we'll be okay. Historically we've done all right. We just have to tighten our belts a little bit. But, in those sort of situations, we're aware of the risks. And if we vote to leave, the risks are on us, and we accept them. So, yeah. Yeah, though if we do vote to leave, we won't be leaving immediately. It will take probably about 18 months or so for everything to be arranged. So there will be just some sort of period of limbo where everything runs pretty much as it did before until all the ties are severed. But yeah, I'm not worried about trade, because they're all, pretty much all of the nations of the Commonwealth will be lining up to sign free trade agreements with us, and people have the United States has, President Obama has said that Britain would have to go to the back of the queue. Of course, Americans never use the word queue, so it was obviously his statement was drafted by Downing Street. So he was saying what the government wanted him to say. Though other people involved in the U.S. government have said that's bullshit. America would be, ready to sign a free trade agreement with Britain as soon as possible. So I'm not worried. They stop us doing so much. Recently, there's basically our last steel manufacturing plant in Wales, in Port Talbot. It's owned by an Indian company called Tata Steel, and pretty much it was losing so much money that Tata decided that they were going to sell it off, and it probably would end up with it all being broken up. The government tried to save it through part nationalisation, but the EU blocked it because it was against their regulations. So as a result of that, 20,000 jobs are at risk. 20,000 jobs. If we weren't a member of the EU, we could have done something about that. So yeah, plenty of reasons for us to leave. Of course, there are reasons for us to stay, but at the end of the day, I think the EU is a sinking ship, and I do acknowledge the very likely possibility that Britain pulling out of the EU will be that that last block holding. I mean, Germany's already talked about wanting a referendum. The Netherlands are now talking about wanting a referendum. France is talking about wanting a referendum. And it's like everything is just going to hell in a handbasket over there. So yeah, I think if we leave, it will set a precedent for other nations of the EU to follow. How long have I been? 22 minutes. Yeah, I'm almost done with the cigar. Yeah. We shall see what happens. I hope we vote to leave. I expect that we will vote to stay, but you never know. Nobody thought that the Conservatives would get, everybody thought that the Conservatives would lose the last general election, but they gained far more seats than they had to begin with. So it's entirely possible that this could go a different way than I expect. But yeah, considering that I'm almost finished with this cigar, I think I will probably call it a day. Be seeing you.